Hi everyone, welcome back to another very exciting Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. I am your host, Jesus Ramirez. How are you doing today? Happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining me today. I already see a lot of familiar faces. Susan, Carol, Ted, Sam Peterson. How's it going, man? Good to see you in the chat. Awesome. Good morning, Robin, Neil. We're watching from Devon, UK. Awesome. I hear Devon is a lovely, lovely place. I've never been, but my good friend Glenn Dewis, who you might know, photographer, has a YouTube channel, is always raving about Devon in the UK. So I'd like to visit someday. Awesome. Good morning, Oleg, Susan, Alejandro, Jennifer, Gautam, Sam. How's it going? All right. So thank you so much for joining me for challenge number 4 of this Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. If this is your first time joining me, then make sure you head over onto this page. Let me just show you my screen. behance.net/challenge/Photoshop. That will take you into the Daily Creative Challenge page where you can click on that big blue button right in the center, the one that says, "Hi, Jesus." It'll say your name on your screen. Take the challenge. When you click on that big blue button, you'll be notified via the Creative Cloud app when daily creative challenges happen, so you can join me and other streamers whenever we do the daily creative challenges. Also, make sure that you scroll down into step number 2 and click on the community chat link. That will open up Discord, and from Discord you can click on the left hand side here where it says where it says current challenge right above my head there, and you'll be able to see the challenges that people have been posting for the current Daily Creative Challenge. You can see some of the Instagram TV thumbnail posts we worked on yesterday. This is a really, really cool one. I like how Vicky essentially made 2 posts in one. Really, really good idea there, Vicky. But anyway, the point is that you can come in here and submit your work, leave your comments and questions, and I'm in the chat. So are the other Adobe mentors like Sam, Valdir, Claudia from Print My Soul, the Adobe team. So make sure that you come in here and submit your work. Also, when you submit your work, make sure that you also submit it onto behance.net. Create a project and make sure that you use the Daily Creative Challenge hashtag PS Daily Challenge, so that you can have an opportunity to be featured in the Creative Challenges curated community gallery, which is right here. And you can check it out. It's on behance.net/galleries/challenges. And you can see some of the curated galleries that we selected. And you can come in here and get inspired and see what other people have been creating with the Daily Creative Challenges. Excuse me. Not just the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenges, but also the XD and Illustrator Daily Creative Challenges. So it's a really cool gallery. I recommend that you check it out. Let me just quickly take a look at the chat. We see cool people are letting me know where they're watching from. We got Adam from Poland. Awesome. Laura from Rochester, New York. Sean is writing, "What am I wearing? It's summer." Well, it's summer in California, but I'm not in California right now. So I'm actually in the UK right now, so it's a little colder. It's been raining, so definitely not the summer I'm used to. But in California, where I'm from, it's definitely sunny and bright, but not here. But yeah, thanks for the concern. Also, I'm a big sweater person, so even in the summer in California, I sometimes like to wear sweaters. So there you go. Neil is saying, yes, we know Glenn. Awesome. We got Jorge from Peru. Nice to see you, Jorge. Ted, how's it going? Cool. So a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces in the chat. Thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate you guys being with me today. Cool. We got Marsha from Toronto. Susan, yeah, that's Manchester weather. That's right. I'm in Manchester right now, Neil. Cool. Thank you, Ted. I appreciate that comment. But anyway, before we get started, I want to mention 2 quick things. Number 1 is, if you haven't already, make sure that you check out my webcast on the Creative Cloud page on Adobe. It's a 1-hour masterclass, mastering Photoshop session where I take you through the basic steps of Photoshop. If you're just starting out, it's 1 hour, it's free, it's from Adobe, so check that out if you like. I'll paste the link in the chat That way you guys can have it, and I'm sure that Sam or somebody else there in the chat will make it clickable as soon as I post it up there. So let me just post that in the chat. There it is. And also, talking about the chat, if you're watching from YouTube, make sure that you head over into behance.net/live, behance.net/live, because if you're commenting on YouTube, I can't see your comments. So I can only see your comments from Behance. So make sure you head over into Behance. Cool. Awesome. And also, something I should have mentioned already, if you go into behance.net/challenge/Photoshop, you need to scroll down into the section that reads Unlock the Challenges. And on challenge number 4, the one for July 24th, you'll see the custom posters challenge that we're going to be working with. Make sure you click on this Get Started button and download the PSD if you like to follow along with me. Then once you learn the techniques, you can try the techniques out in your own photos and maybe submit that onto Discord when you're done. You could also submit the same file that I used using your own adjustments. That's totally cool. So make sure that you download the Get Started file. If I go too fast, if you miss something, you can always come back and watch the recording. The recording will be here where it says watch the video. You can see the recording for this stream and any other stream I've done right there. And also, if you get bored and you want to look at more daily creative challenges, you can keep scrolling down and you'll see the recordings for all the Photoshop daily creative challenges that we've done. It's a whole lot of them, so you can definitely spend a lot of time learning Photoshop with us. If you like, just keep scrolling down and make sure that you click on the watch video buttons for each individual challenge. Awesome. I suspect Puppet Warp today. Any other guesses? Yeah, that's what we're going to do today. Puppet Warp. We're going to talk about the Puppet Warp tool, one of my favorite tools for photo manipulation inside of Photoshop. So I'm going to show you the technique that I like using and how I use the Puppet Warp tool. So why don't we jump right into that? If I enable or bring up Photoshop, I already have the file that we're going to work with open. Oh, awesome, Ted. I just see in the chat that you watched the class on the Creative Cloud. So glad you watched it. Thank you so much, Ted. I appreciate that. But anyway, so this is the file that we're going to work with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change his positioning a little bit just to make him look a little more athletic, or just make him look the way that I want. Not necessarily saying that he doesn't look athletic there, but I can make any adjustments that I want and just perfect them even more. So basically, the first step is to make a selection out of your main subject. You can do that automatically in newer versions of Photoshop. All you need to do is go into Select and click on Subject. And Adobe Sensei, which is Adobe's artificial intelligence machine learning technology, will make a selection out of the main subject, and it does a fairly good job in most cases. It's not always perfect, but you can always come there and fine-tune the selection. It's a lot faster than starting from scratch. But anyway, and what you can do now is go into Select, Modify, and Expand. So we're going to expand the mask, and I'll expand the mask by maybe 2 or 3 pixels. We'll try 2 and see how that looks, and then maybe do 3 if need be. Basically, what I want is to make sure that the selection is completely going around him and it's away from the edges, like so. And I think in this case it does a really good job. Maybe we need to add this part of the shoe in, so I'll select the lasso tool, hold shift and click and drag just to add that section in. And I think that for the most part we did a good job making that selection, so it looks really good. What I'm going to do now is double click on the hand tool to fit the image to screen, and I'm just going to duplicate the layer and click on the layer mask icon to isolate him on his own layer. Then I'm going to hold Control, that's Command on the Mac, and click on the layer mask thumbnail to load it as a selection again. I'll disable that layer, and now I'm going to select the background layer, and I'm going to go into Edit. Actually, I need to rasterize the layer, so let me right click on it and rasterize it. Then I'll go into Edit, Content Aware Fill. In the Content Aware Fill dialog, Photoshop will do a really good job in removing the runner from the background. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to do a really good job, and you can fine tune any imperfections. All I'm going to do is set the output settings to a new layer, and I'll press OK. So now I have this new layer that just covers the runner, like so. And if I need to make any adjustments, I can do so Like for example, Photoshop missed this area here, so I can use something like the spot healing brush tool. Make sure that sample all layers is selected, and I can just paint that away. Maybe this line here I can paint away. That's because my expansion wasn't big enough, so I probably should have gone to maybe 5 pixels or so. But the point is that you want to make sure that you remove all these little imperfections. So if you're watching this, maybe set your expansion to 5 pixels because 3 apparently wasn't good enough. But I think it'll be good enough for the video, and we can always come back and fine tune it if need be. And also in areas like here where it's blurry, what you can do is simply select the clone stamp tool, hold Alt on Windows, Option in the Mac, and click to set the sample source, and then just paint those pixels in wherever it is blurry so it doesn't look so fake, like so. And I'm just sampling from different areas and painting in the background, like so. So we'll just call that good for now. Obviously, in your projects, spend a little more time fine-tuning all these details, but for now, we'll say that this is good. Then, with this layer active, what I can now do is select the layer and convert it into a smart object so that we can work non-destructively. And the question is, why do I have to rasterize? I have to rasterize the layer. That was one of the first steps because I couldn't access the content-aware fill with a smart object, so I just rasterized the layer so that I could access it. You could also duplicate the layer and rasterize that layer. In this case, it really didn't make a difference since I'm not really affecting the background because I created this effect on a separate layer, but I couldn't apply the filter to a smart object. So that's why I rasterized the layer. The question now is, can you also use the patch tool? Yes, I can also use the patch tool. So let me show you what I mean by that. Actually, if you use the patch tool, you need to merge the layers because the patch tool wouldn't necessarily work on areas that don't have any pixels. So if I was trying to do something over here and then adjust it, oh, actually, I guess it does work. Oh yeah, because I'm in this layer. So I'm in the background layer, but if I were in the runner layer and I try to do that, Photoshop wouldn't let me because you can't do the apply all layer command like you can with the spot healing brush tool. So if you wanted to use the patch tool, what I recommend is duplicating the background and then merging the background in that layer that you created with the content-aware fill. And I'm noticing that my screen is going black for some reason. It doesn't go black on here, but I just caught it like in the corner of my eye on the stream. So I hope that you guys are okay there. But anyway, with this layer active, I can definitely use the patch tool now. I can just make a selection with the patch tool and then click and drag it to another location. But again, the patch tool, you would need to merge the layers. So I know that was a really long answer to your question, Devika. You can use the patch tool if you want, but you do have to merge the layers. I'll keep the layers merged from now. Since I duplicated, it really doesn't matter. But anyway, the point is that I can go into the runner layer, and with my runner layer active, and I can see that the screen is going black. I don't know if you guys can see that on your screen. Let me know in the comments if the screen went black just on my end or your end too, because I can still see me, but then for some reason this screen keeps going black. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is now that I have my runner set as a smart object, what I can do now is go into edit, transform, I'm sorry, not edit, transform, edit, puppet warp. And from the puppet warp, you're gonna get a mesh. I have the show mesh disabled, and you can create these pins on the mesh like so. And then you can click and drag on the pins. And let me just make sure that this layer is enabled so you can see the cool effects. Sorry about that. I should have had this layered enabled, and then I'll do that again. Edit, puppet warp, mesh, create pins. And I'm just creating pins over his joints, and I can click and drag on these pins, and I'll disable the mesh so that you can see. I can click and drag on the pins to move them. And now you can see why we remove the background or remove the runner from the background so that we can move them anywhere that we want, and we can still see the background behind them. And you can also hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and click and drag to rotate. See that? See how I'm now rotating from his knee? And that looks much more realistic. I can also click on his foot here, on his ankle, add another one of these pins, hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and rotate just to make it seem as if he's running. And you can adjust him any way that you want. So maybe he's taking a longer stride here. Maybe he's just running much faster. Totally up to you what he is doing with what you do with his body. You can move him back, you can move him forward, anything that you want. When you're done, you can click on the check mark to commit the changes. And you can, since we used a smart object, you can click on this eye icon to see the before and the after. See that? Super cool. And another thing that we can do now is zoom in, and I can go into filter, liquify, and I could also use the liquify filter. Maybe I need to, make his, maybe in this case his clothes looks really good, but maybe if you're working with a subject that their clothes is all over the place and you just want to tighten it up a little bit, you can do so with the smudge tool. You can just smudge in these details any way that you want, like so. Maybe here it's bulging out a little bit, not looking so athletic, so maybe I can straighten that out a little bit. And you can just make any adjustments that you like. I think in this case, this is pretty good. So I'm going to press OK. And you can see now the before and the after. And all these filters are editable because we're using a smart object. See that? And I'll double click on the hand tool to fit the image to screen. Before and after, and also with the puppet warp, before and after. And like I said, all these are editable. I can double click on the puppet warp tool and it will bring up the puppet warp, and I can keep adjusting the pins if need be. In this case, I'm really happy with my results, so I don't need to do that. Another cool thing about using this technique of separating the background from the foreground is that you can click on the runner here and you can move him to a completely different location, right? The only thing you would have to do at this point is create a layer mask. And actually, you know what? I'm going to cheat a little bit. So with this layer mask active, what I'm going to do is click on the runner by holding Control on Windows, Command on the Mac. When I click, I'll make a selection of my active pixels. Earlier, I expanded the selection, so now I have about a 3 pixel radius going around him. So it's like essentially a 3 pixel stroke. Now I want to minimize that so that it's not visible in the new location where my runner is. So what I can do now is delete the layer mask, apply that layer mask, so the selection now became a mask, and I can go into Filter, Other, Minimum, and apply the minimum filter. And the minimum filter is a filter that allows you to contract a mask, and it's a much better way of expanding and contracting a selection. So earlier we used the expand feature for a selection. This is the minimum feature for a selection. So they're both basically the same, but this one's just a little more advanced for 2 reasons. Number one is that it has an algorithm that allows you to preserve either squareness or roundness. In this case, we're working with a human being, so roundness would be the better algorithm. Number two, the radius here can have decimal points, so 1.5 pixels. The previous expand command or the contract command, which will be the equivalent to minimum, can only have whole numbers. So this gives you more control over how much you expand or contract a mask. Also, this works for mask. The previous one works for selections. But anyway, so the point is that I can now start moving this number up to over 3 pixels, because remember earlier we added 3 pixels, so now we need to do 3 or more. So maybe I'll do like 3.5 or something like that, and notice the before and the after. See that? Before and after. Really quickly I was able to remove that stroke. Obviously it's not going to be perfect because I noticed that the shoes here are missing like the back part here, so I can just paint with white to bring that area back, and maybe bring this area back as well, like so, and paint with black if I bring out too much. Totally up to you. But anyway, so now I was able to move my runner to a new position in the photo. His body is in a completely different position, and it was done really simply just by creating a content aware fill in the background to remove the runner. On a separate layer, you can duplicate that runner and apply these pins to start them any way that you want. Use liquify if you want as well, and you can place them in a different location. And also, you don't necessarily have to do this particular technique when you want to completely remove somebody's, or not remove, excuse me, when you want to completely move or reposition someone's body. Like, this technique will be perfect if you just wanted to keep his body the way that it was, but maybe just correct the imperfections in the clothing. You would remove the background and then apply the liquify over the person's body just to fix the clothing. But the point is that when you push pixels in, you will still see the new background generated by the content aware fill. I hope that made sense. But this technique is applicable to many, many different areas, not just, moving people's bodies and limbs. Also, if you're interested in finding out how all the different options work under Puppet Warp, you can see what I mean by that. We have the mode, we have the density, expansion, pin depth, rotate, auto, fix. What all that means, I have a tutorial on YouTube. So if you go to, like, I know you're on Behance now, so if you go to my Behance page, Behance profile, you'll see a link to my YouTube channel right down there. And if you go to my YouTube channel, just about maybe a week ago, maybe even less, magical Photoshop manipulation tool tutorial. This one here, it's basically an 8-minute crash course on how this particular tool works, and I talk about all the different options, how they work, what they do. So if you really want an in-depth explanation of what the tool does, make sure that you check out this video. I'm sure somebody in the chat will post it there. But anyway, we see Paul Tranny in the house. Hey Ryan, how's it going? Good to see you, man. Ryan, that's the way I call Paul. I call him Ryan, he calls me Freddy. Those are what our family calls us. But yeah, good to see you in the chat, Paul. Awesome. So it looks like I only have about 3 more minutes. So let me make sure that I go back into this page right here. This is not the right one. That's not the right one. I've been all over the place. So let me go back to it. It's the behance.net/challenge/Photoshop page. Make sure that you come in here and click on this big blue button if you haven't already. Make sure that you click on the community chat link. That will take you into Discord. And this is where I want to see your results for today's daily creative challenge or any other daily creative challenge. Make sure that you maybe post the before and after for this challenge, because it might be difficult to tell what you did for a photo to a photo. So maybe you want to put a side-by-side comparison of the body distortions that you made using today's technique. So check that out. And this is the work that people have been submitting so far. Awesome. Also, make sure that you submit your work onto Behance, behance.net, and that way you have an opportunity to be featured in the curated gallery. The curated gallery is found under behance.net/galleries/challenges. And if you use the hashtag PSDailyChallenge, you can have an opportunity to be featured in this gallery. So make sure that you check that out. Also, again, if you want to check out my Creative Cloud 1-hour Mastering Photoshop Essentials here on Adobe on the Creative Cloud page, make sure that you sign up for this 1-hour webcast, and you can just click on this big blue button to sign up. And it's free and it's from Adobe, so make sure that you check that out. Cool. Oh, also one last thing, because I got like a minute left. If you like today's tutorial, I actually have a 1-minute version of it on TikTok. So I just started posting 1-minute videos on TikTok. So I made a 1-minute version of it. So if you just want like a super quick reminder, make sure that you go on TikTok and check it out. Also, check out my Behance page. And be sure to come back again next week on Monday, where we're going to start with the challenge number 5. I hope that you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I see that Sean wrote in the comments, thanks, Freddie. Thank you so much, Sean. But yeah, have a wonderful week. I'll be back again on Monday for another Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again very, very soon. All right, guys, thanks so much, and see you on Monday. Bye.